All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power, and the finals for the Texas Pro for 212 and Men's Open Bodybuilding just wrapped up, and the World Deadlift Championships just wrapped up. So we're going to cover all that in this video, but let's start out with 212. So in 212, the winner of the 212 division, and this was a long time coming, Ahmed El-Sadani. A lot of people have been waiting for this victory. He's got a tremendous physique. He's got a huge fan base. I see it in every video that I post. I see it in my DMs all the time. This guy is a really, really fantastic 212 bodybuilder. Finally getting that Olympia qualification. He will be going to the 212 Mr. Olympia. Major, major victory for him, and I think he's got a tremendous physique. He's very aesthetic, great V-taper, crazy peaked biceps. He's got big legs. I mean, he's got the whole package, and this time I think he finally nailed it and did enough here to get the victory and go to the 212 Olympia. So first and foremost, congrats to Ahmed El-Sadani. A lot of people, like I said, have been waiting for this moment, and I'm very happy to see him finally get that Olympia qualification. He's been competing at a lot of these shows, and finally he got it. Now, speaking of 212, this actually caught me by surprise here. Guy Cisternino actually announced his retirement at this show. So I actually had no idea that Guy was planning on retiring, and I don't believe he placed here because he wasn't at the award ceremony for the top 5. But yeah, Guy apparently announced his retirement at this show, so he kind of gave a little bit of a speech there with Bob Ciccarello. He's had a long and pretty good career. I know Guy is a 212 guy that has really put together a pretty large fan base. He's got a pretty large following, and he's really popular amongst the 212 ranks. I'm a fan of Guy. So it's kind of sad to see him go, but I think it was the right timing. I mean, his placings were definitely starting to drop. I think it was probably the right timing to do that. It's just not the same Guy that we were used to seeing back in the day. So shout out to Guy. We're going to miss him on stage, obviously, but I think it's always good to recognize when somebody makes a decision at an appropriate time and doesn't hang on a little bit too long. I think it's always better that way when you can go out a little bit more on top than going out, at the absolute bottom. I think when guys start to drop in placings and they start to realize maybe it's time, I think it's better to go than to hold on a little bit too long. Now, let's get to the big boys, Men's Open Bodybuilding. So to start things off, I want to congratulate Iain Valliere, who took the victory here. Steve Kuclo wound up in second place. And I think the biggest surprise of the night was Phil Clahar winding up in third place. Actually, if you were watching the live stream, you could hear the audience booing when they put Phil Clahar in third place. So let's look back a little bit at prejudging here. So at prejudging, I had Steve over Iain. So Steve, to me, he looked like he was a lot bigger than Iain. I think Iain was in better shape than Steve at prejudging. But I think Steve had enough conditioning combined with enough size, because I think he was significantly bigger than Iain, to win the show at prejudging. And I saw Steve post on his story that he weighed 291 for this show. I believe Iain said he weighed 260. So does that mean Steve came in 30 pounds heavier than Iain? If that was the size difference, that's pretty incredible. And I think that was pretty noticeable on stage. I think he looked a lot bigger than Iain. But that being said, I think Iain looked a little bit better at the night show, and Steve softened up at the night show. So I think Steve did look worse at the night show than he looked at prejudging, and Iain looked a little bit better than how he looked at prejudging. So I think Iain definitely deserves the victory in that sense, because I thought it was really, and the judges were saying this, they were saying this as they were moving them around at the finals, that it was really neck and neck between Steve and Iain, and that was really close. So at prejudging, I did have Steve ahead, but I think Steve needed to come in tighter at the night show. He really needed to tighten up between prejudging and the night show, but he didn't do that. If anything, he came in a little bit softer, and I think Iain almost looked better at the night show. So Iain kind of made up whatever ground that Steve had on him, because Steve came in a little bit more off at the night show. So I think that's really what did it for Steve. But the other thing that I want to get to here is Phil Clahar. I mean, what does this guy need to do to win a show? I mean, let's be completely honest here. If you're talking about conditioning, if you're talking about detail, I don't think anybody watching this show, whether it's HD video, whether it's the live stream, whether it's photos online, I don't think anybody looking at anything from this show can deny that Phil was shredded to the absolute bone in comparison to Steve, in comparison to Iain, he was like on another level of shredded. And he wasn't small. He was a big guy. And he was absolutely ripped to the bone. Defined, detailed, just crazy. Winding up in third place. What does he need to do to win a show? I really want to know what you guys think in the comment section below about Phil Clahar placing third. Could he have placed ahead of Steve? I think you could make that argument. Honestly, I wasn't thinking this at prejudging. After prejudging, I thought Steve was going to win it. But watching the night show, I was starting to change my mind a little bit, and I had Phil winning it. I just really wanted to see Phil win. When they were announcing those placings, I had my fingers crossed that they would just make this kind of unexpected decision and give Phil the victory, because I knew nobody would be expecting it. And I mean, this guy, he's improved so drastically over the past few years that he's been competing. And he's an older guy. I mean, he's in his late 40s. I believe he's 47, and he continues to improve, and he continues to get better. And like I said, even though he doesn't have the prettiest structure, his conditioning is just undeniably good. And that's why I want to continue to give him props in these videos, because everybody knows Steve Kuclo. Everybody knows Iain Valliere. They don't know who Phil Clahar is. They know who he is now. But he was a smaller name in this show. He was a smaller name in Tampa. Steve was a big name. Iain was a big name. Phil, I just want to see him win a show. There's no more opportunities, really, I don't think, for men's open bodybuilding to get to the Olympia this year. But he looks so good to me, man. I just really want to see him do well. And I hope he continues to compete and try to qualify for next year's Mr. Olympia. Because, honestly, I kind of had my fingers crossed at the finals, hoping he was going to win this. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think Iain deserves a victory. I think even over Phil, he deserved it. Over Steve, I think, like I said, Steve slipped between prejudging and the night show, and I think that's what cost Steve the show. And I think Iain looked better from prejudging to the night show, and that's what got Iain the win. So congratulations to Iain. Now let's get into powerlifting here. So also today was the Deadlift World Championships, the big attempt to try to break the deadlift world record. Now, to make a long story short, nobody broke the record. So what you're looking at here is the final scoreboard for the Deadlift World Championships. Ivan Makarov wound up being the front runner like a lot of us expected. He had the highest deadlift with a total of 475 kgs, coming the closest to the 501 kg record currently held by Hafthor Bjornsson. Now, Ivan did attempt 505. It was close, but no cigar. So as of right now, it looks like Hafthor is going to be holding on to that record for another year. I think the year of 2021 is going to come to a close without a new champion. But I've been saying this for the past year or so now. I think Ivan probably will be the guy to eventually break the record. I just don't know when it's going to happen. Now, towards the end of the month, we're still waiting for the bench press world record. So we still know that Julius in 2 weeks will be attempting the 800-pound raw bench press again. So we know now that there will be no new deadlift world record this month. Will there be a new raw bench press world record set by Julius Maddox this month, breaking his own current record? That's the big question. Will powerlifting see at least one new record this month? Let me know in the comment section below, who do you think is going to break Thor's record one day? Do you think it's Ivan? Do you think it's somebody else? And do you think Julius will break the bench press world record? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet already. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.